Masculism, that is, men's lib, the core ideas, by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. Masculism is men's lib, that is, freeing men from the oppressions of the traditional male role of being a man-slave to a woman. Men invented the contraceptive pill, higher education, household gadgets, so that women can choose the number of kids they want, usually 0, 1 or 2. Thus women now can work, having a career window of some 40 plus years. The Masculists point the finger at women, saying, now that women can work, they must work. Anything else is parasitism of the labour of men. Masculists put enormous moral pressure on women to FIP up. That is, become FIPs, that's financially independent persons, pulling their weight financially and not expecting to parasite on men financially. Masculists are very conscious that so many of men's gender issues would be solved if we lived in a FIP society, that is, in which both sexes, especially women, are socialized and educated by parents and teachers to be FIPs. The opposite of a FIP is a fluffy, based on the word fluff, with connotations of being light, not serious, not adult, not responsible, not career competent, not FIP. Fluffies expect to be able to parasite off the money of men. They are the enemy of the Masculists. The primary political goal of the Masculists is to free men from man-slavery worldwide this century by wiping out the fluffies and fluffy feminists, not by killing them, but by men ignoring them to extinction, so that fluffies rot on the shelf, accused of being immoral, parasitic, man-slaving vermin. Masculists organise politically, ideologically, to men fair, that's the verb, the gender laws, which are so unjust towards men. Increasingly, we live in a genocracy where society is geared towards women's interests and needs, and men's are rejected. For example, one married father in 4 in the Western countries is financially massacred in the fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts. He will lose his kids with 90% probability. He will lose his house and half his possessions, which go to his fluffy ex-wife, so that she can raise her kids in the house. He will have to pay child support to kids he will barely see, and often pay alimony to his ex-wife, with no legal or moral obligation on her to get off her fat parasitic ass and FIP up. That is, to get a job and stop parasiting off his money. Masculists also fight against many legal discriminations against men, the most blatant of which is the lack of a legislated para, that's paternity rejection right, which would allow a man to reject an unwanted pregnancy the same way as women can, called the MARA, maternity rejection right, commonly known as the abortion right. The para would allow a man to fill in a paternity rejection form, so that if the woman continues with the pregnancy, she then has full legal responsibility for the costs of the kid. Masculists counter the misandry of the fluffy feminist hypocrites who want equal rights with men, but reject equal obligations with men, namely sharing the burden of earning the living by bothering to get a career-competent education at high school and college. 3/4 of young women at age 16 choose to study fluffy crap, that is, the intellectually light options that will deny them access to study STEM, S-T-E-M, science, tech, engineering, math, and the professions at college, resulting in them becoming fluffies who expect to parasite off men's money. Fluffy feminists have taken over the schools and the media, brainwashing boys that males are the inferior sex, whereas the opposite is true. Men have a higher average IQ than women by about 4 IQ points, and a 10% higher IQ variance than women, so that men are the morons and the genii. So men have won 99% of the science Nobel Prizes. The female contribution to world intellect is a few percent at best. Men also have high testosterone levels, so are more aggressive, ambitious, dogged, persistent, and are more likely to finish difficult tasks, so men dominate the entries in the Who's Who books. The most powerful argument of the Masculists and the MGTOW, that's men going their own way, another branch of the men's-led movement who refuse to marry, refuse to have kids and spend their money on themselves doing what they love, is that if the gender politicians don't men-fair the gender laws, then the Masculists and MGTOWs will continue to reject paternity and hence wipe out whole populations. 2/3 of young men under 35 in the major countries are now either MGTOW or Masculists. This is causing young women to panic because young men refuse to give them their sperm, so that young women are learning they will not have babies, resulting in young women hating the fluffy feminist hypocrites as much as men do. Ciao. This is Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis.